The head custos is the governor or the governor general. The head custos is taking side with the other custodies and the other JPs, and you can't get no justice. And then Paul Bogle decide to put him shoulder to wheel.
Yes.
As a Christian.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they were being victimized, discriminated against, and they were being, in fact, they were forced into impoverishment. That would have them taking away the land.
Yeah.
Now, so they declared war.
Yeah.
On the government. Well, you know the outcome of that.
Yeah.
The government, the state won, and you know the massacre of blacks and burning down of Stony Gut and
the burning of the burning of 1,000 houses by the government as punishment for the black people. Punishment. People were not involved. People were not involved. Yeah, 1,000 houses were burned. They counted them, you know.
They did, yes.
And burn 1,000 houses.
They did. There's a report on it. Now, the result is that, well, the whites became scared, or the whites and coloreds who were in collusion against the blacks became scared and were encouraged to dissolve the assembly, that was the semblance of democracy that we had.
The parliament.
The government.
Yeah.
And they decided to go for a more dictatorship.
And one of the main reasons why they say let us dissolve this parliament,
yes,
is because one of the men who was in the parliament was sympathetic to the people,
right,
and helped to educate the people,
right,
like what you are doing here now. You're not supposed to be at no university and helping to expose these things to people. So they say let us dissolve the university. It's a trouble spot. So the university, you could say the parliament that day, they say if you have a person in here who is in the parliament supposed to represent landowners, and he's out there educating the people, George William Gordon. Let us dissolve the parliament, and instead of that you have a dictatorship by the governor and the crown.
A dictatorship coming all the way from England.
Yeah.
And the governor was sole arbiter. And Sir John Peter Grant came in 1866, and he immediately began to make changes.
But he was a prison colony governor.
Yes, man, coming from India.
Tell people, or Australia, please. Tell people what a prison, why his experience as a prison colony governor would make him so wicked.
Well, Australia is a prison colony, and New Zealand.
Yes.
Those persons who had committed misdemeanors,
yes,
they were exiled from England,
yes,
to go down under, never to return.
Yes.
If you this book, Great Expectation, many persons might not have read it, but it discusses.
Is Dickens that a Dickens?
Yes, Dickens' Great Expectation, or the story of that this convict who was exiled.
Yes.
And well, I'm not going to go into that story, but here you had a number of convicts who were
criminals. Yeah, they're convicted as criminals.
Yes, to Australia. So those are called penal colonies.
Yeah, punishment.
Yes.
So he's used to run in a prison and treating people like prisoners.
Yes. And
so after the Bogle rebellion, they bring him here and say this is the best kind of guy to come here and cool off these people.
Yes, because he had subdued riots in India.
Yes.
Yes. So what you had is a situation now in which he came now, in Jamaican parlance, to really put the Jamaican people on the manners.
Oh, yes. So he come to sanitize Jamaica.
Okay. Yes. And he passed some laws. Some of them, the laws primarily to reform the civil service.
Civil service.
Yes, and large number of laws were passed. One of them was the police law.
Yes.
1867.
Yeah, that's where the police force was started.
Right.
As a retaliation against...
Yes, exactly. It was to be a paramilitary force, to subdue and to diffuse any form of riot, such as the fight of Moran Bay.
Not only riot, but any fight for justice.
Any form of discontent.
Yes, yes.
And we know that that they were fashioned of the Irish police force.
Yes.
And Ireland was quote unquote a colony of England at the time.
Being suppressed.
Yes. So then, he passed a police law, and he also passed a number of land laws. The land registration law, the land tax law, the anti-squatting law, and a whole heap of laws. As a means of tidying up the land system.
Yeah.
And so he organized a district courts to deal with squatters, to eject squatters, and to get people off the land and place them in the hands of persons, quote unquote, who could make them productive. As if to say that the blacks are not making them productive.
Well,
in other words, put them in the hands of large landholders.
Yeah, so yeah. In a couple decades after Morant Bay Rebellion, the government took away 250,000 acres of land from black people.
Yes.
Take it away so that to force them to go to work for wages. You mustn't live off of the land.
But
you must go and work for wages.
I want to run through this quickly. That it was not only black people. When the law started its operation, it was noted that to their dismay, they found out that not only black people were squatting.
Yes.
But there are individuals who, one Custos of St. Anne was found to be squatting and muscle over 2,000 to 3,000 acres of land.
Yes.
And when the law had to take its course, and when they decided to eject all of those large squatters, it is said that the law says that the law was not intended for persons of the ilk of those large persons who squatted on land, the elites of society, but to the small black peasants.
Yes.
Well, of course, the law took its course and it was rejected. Now, those persons who were, they didn't just acquiesce and say, let us get off the land. They did put up a struggle, but they did not have a title. And if you don't have a title for your land, you do not own that piece of land.
Yeah.
So we need to tell Jamaicans that if anybody's selling them a piece of land, then they're just going to give you a receipt.
Yeah.
That is not contestable in court. You're going to lose that piece of land. You need to, the title has to be, you have to get a registered title to show ownership. Those poor black peasants did not have a title, could not produce a title, and so they were ejected. So where should they go?
And this is one of the reasons and the spurs why a lot of people had to migrate to England nearly 100 years later. Because a lot of
not only England, remember, many of them had to run away to Panama,
America, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Cuba.
Costa Rica, Guatemala.
Yeah, because the piece of paper that you have for the land, not really legal, so you just sell the land cheap for your passage. Anything over £75 or £85
that was good enough to travel.
For the ticket.
But you must also remember, though, that the large multinational corporations like United Food Company and those companies, and they had plantations overseas and were recruiting, and with the development of steamship and railway and all of that, there are a large number of persons migrating from one place to the other, and many of them were able to travel abroad free, just to work, though, not to live, to work. And Jamaicans found it those countries the climate, the environment much more conducive to them than here in Jamaica, their homeland. Many of them are forced out of the country to work overseas.
Yeah.
Because conditions are a bit better. So then that is part of, that is a development that has continued even up to now, that many persons have land and they do not have a title for it, and they stand a chance of losing the land. And land is still owned by the large landholders.
Yeah.
Right? I can't put the statistics offhand because I'm not near them right now. But a large proportion of Jamaicans are landless.
Of course. And the vast majority.
Hence, there's squatter settlements.
Yes. Well, let's go. And you were saying, Dr. Satchell, that the vast majority of Jamaicans are landless, ownerless.
Yes.
Ownershipless.
Ownership you're talking about. Many of them settle. You see a large number of these squatter settlements are symptomatic of the land scarcity in the island.
Yes.
Not to say that many are just crop up people have land there.
Hold on. I have to interrupt you here because a lady has called in sometime now, and this is an appropriate time for me to tell you what she's asking. This is coming from Susan Cowan. She's asking you if you know the history of Flankers, one of the most famous squatter settlements in Jamaica, in the Montego Bay area, right beside the airport, and who owned it?
Right off the bat, I couldn't say right now.
Yes.
Because I've not done much work. I mean, I've done, but I've not got any material to to refresh my memory on that. But undoubtedly,